In the past couple of years, to convey the news that someone has died, I've more and more heard people say of the deceased that they are now with the ancestors. I'm not particularly keen on euphemisms when it comes to speaking about death, but I love this one. In our death-denying culture, there is a need, I believe, to draw on language that speaks the truth, that speaks to the reality of the situation, to the hard fact of the matter. That's not to say that there isn't room for the poetic, but sometimes it simply needs to be stated that so-and-so has died. But recently, when I heard it said of two people in our denomination who were quite dear to me, that they are now with the ancestors, there was an immediate sense of reordering in my mind as I moved these people with care who had only moments before been counted among the living to that very different category of being among the ancestors or those who have gone before. I think that particular turn of phrase landed for me in a new and poignant way because I spent part of my vacation this year digging more deeply into my own ancestry. Being off, but also being very much tethered to home, I finally got around to piecing together my genealogy, building on work already done by several of my relatives. I knew that I come from a long line of ministers. I didn't until this summer, though, appreciate just how long that line is, tracing through time to the beginnings of the English Reformation. Many of my great-great-grandfathers going back generations were among the Puritans that founded Massachusetts and the Anglican clergy who founded Virginia. In the way the phrase "it's turtles all the way down" describes the philosophical problem of infinite regress, in my family, it's pretty much ministers all the way down. The ones from New England in the 17th and 18th centuries founded and served churches that are today Unitarian Universalist congregations. I have found that genealogy as a spiritual practice helps one to appreciate the often haphazard series of events that brought each of us into being. One of these events for me involved my first known ancestor to come to Canada, though he came very much against his will. The Reverend John Williams served as the minister of the Puritan Church in Deerfield, Massachusetts at the turn of the 18th century. In 1704, during Queen Anne's War, he, his wife, their children, and over 100 of his parishioners were captured by a number of Mohawk men and French soldiers from Quebec, who seized them in retaliation for a French pirate, I'm not making this up, who had been recently taken hostage by the British. Reverend Williams and the others were marched some 500 kilometers through the depths of winter to Montreal. While there's much more to the story, the most important part of it to me, ultimately, is that Reverend Williams' wife, Eunice Mather, fell while crossing a river and was reportedly then killed by one of the Mohawk men. In time, Reverend Williams was freed and returned to his home with most of his family and congregation. But he returned a widower who would in time remarry. And it was from that second marriage that, thankfully for me, was born Abigail Williams, my seventh great-grandmother through my mother's mother's line. So I quite literally owe my life to a pirate. I would not be here had kidnappings and killings not happened. This can be a complicated bit of family history to hold. But whether we know it or not, each of us surely has countless such stories in our own history, of mishaps and near misses, of good luck and improbable grace that have made it possible that each of us is alive and here today. Taking that in, truly appreciating the many twists and turns through time that broke in our favor, allows a deeper hearing of the point of Mary Fegan's poem, "I am a millions of years old wonder." I am a millions of years old wonder. I am an international, no, cosmic treasure. I ought to be safeguarded in a museum somewhere like Paganini's old violin. I ought to be gasped at, talked about in hushed, amazed, reverential tones. Viewers could touch me gently and feel lucky. Daily newspaper headlines could say, "Mary Fegan exists again today." Radio and TV shows could discuss me, my ordinary events. That I saw a bluebird with my millions of years old eyes and heard it sing with my highly advanced evolutionary ears. That my graceful hands with opposable thumbs fed my sensitive mouth delicious strawberries that it tasted. Then, without a conscious thought, that my brilliant brain directed my masterful, complex digestive system to assimilate and use them for fuel, to wash dishes, write poems, hold babies, laugh, and give kisses. No one would completely understand or dare to finally say how my marvelous, magical, famous, fine self exists, really. I am just, bottom line, a millions of years old wonder, and so are you. And so we are. On this day when we call to mind our dead, we recall our many ancestors, be they biological, spiritual, or otherwise. There are, after all, many ways to be related to those we have loved and lost. There are many that we may count as our ancestors. The poet Jane Shore captures so poignantly the notion of the great cloud of witnesses in such an everyday sense that surrounds us in her poem, The Blue Address Book. Take in these words. Like the other useless things I cannot bear to get rid of, her nylon nightgowns, his gold-plated cufflinks, his wooden shoe trees in a size no one I know can use. I'm stuck with their blue pleather address book. Its 26 chapters printed in ballpoint pen, X'd out, penciled in, and after she passed away, amended in his hand, recording as in a family Bible those generations born, married, and since relocated to their graves, Abramovitz to Zimmerman. Great uncles, aunts, cousins once removed, whose cheeks I kissed, whose food I ate, are in this book, still alive, immortal, each name accompanied by a face. The baby blue cover has a patina of grease, the pages steeped in the cigarette smoke of years spent in my parents' junk drawer. Though scattered in different graveyards, here they are all accounted for. Their souls disperse, dust motes in the air that I inhale. On this day of remembrance, it is right and good that we give thought to what endures of our ancestors, that we give thought to the hopes and dreams that gave shape to the lives that shaped ours, and consider the ways they may speak to and through us even still. In reflecting on your own ancestors in whatever way you claim them, are there aspirations and expectations of theirs, whether ever spoken of or not, that live on in you? Do these forebears continue to shape your life? I'm not sure that any one of us can honestly answer no. For better and sometimes for worse, it seems we are instilled with the hopes and dreams of our ancestors, and sometimes it must be said, saddled with their baggage too. Whether we have rejected these things, deciding them not to be our own, or devoted the energy of our lives trying to fulfill or deny them, our inheritance from those who've gone before us can often linger on as our odd and sometimes unwelcome companions. It can be said of each of us that we contain multitudes. Yet our complicated tethers to the past provide the threads of continuity over time. They form an ongoing conversation between the generations about the unfolding direction of the world, a conversation that must never ultimately be limited to the needs and wants of a single generation, but open to and shaped by the hopes and dreams, the challenges and fears, the shining goals and enduring commitment of generations past and generations still to come. To be alive means being forever caught in the middle, to live in between, with moral obligations to those who've gone before, as well as very real practical and moral obligations to all of those who will come after us. In the meantime, in this precious meantime that is ours, we are given to finding our own way in this world, figuring out how best to live a life of meaning and purpose. But the writer of the book of Deuteronomy in the Jewish scriptures reminds us that we build on foundations we did not lay. We warm ourselves at fires we did not light. We sit in the shade of trees we did not plant. And we drink from wells we did not dig. These words, themselves now nearly 3,000 years old, remind us that the past does indeed deserve its due. We come into this world with a great debt of gratitude to be paid to those who've made possible all that blesses and sustains us. Part of that debt is paid by passing along the gifts we have been given, and in coming to terms that we too will one day be counted among the ancestors. In his poem titled "For the Anniversary of My Death," W.S. Merwin writes, "Every year, without knowing it, I have passed the day when the last fires will wave to me and the silence will set out, tireless traveler, like the beam of a lightless star. Then I will no longer find myself in life as in a strange garment." Every year, as we spin on this globe around the sun, each of us passes the anniversary of our death. That final date that will, at some point in the future, be entered by others into countless forms to settle our affairs, and perhaps even etched into granite to mark the years that we were given on this good green earth. It can be a deeply unsettling thought. After all, there's little in this life more sobering than thinking of ourselves in the past tense. And yet, that deeply unsettling thought can be the very key to unleashing life itself, because it prompts us to ask what our lives are for, because it drives us to question our own life's purpose and to ponder the meaning of our days, because it causes us to wonder at what of us will survive after death, what of us, the things we did, what we loved, and who we were, will live beyond the grave and carry our legacy forward into the world. Few, if any of us, will fall into the category of those long remembered generations hence. More likely, the impact of our lives will be as it always has, like gentle ripples moving out in ever widening circles, shaping the planet and people yet to come by how we lived the days that were ours and the days that are ours still. May we live well in this day that we have been given. Blessed be.